Recovery is a part of training that everyone can agree is important. Whether it be for muscle or strength, a bad recovery can lead to a bad quality workout, which then again leads to a bad recovery, which inevitably will make you not go anywhere, and in the worst of cases, injure you. However, its importance sometimes is regarded so high that many people will put it above training and diet, and because people have such a high view of it, they start losing the nuance of things. The worst possible scenario that a bad recovery could lead to is an injury, and because of that, many people have the perspective that if they were to train the same muscle 2 days in a row, that they will injure themselves instantaneously or lose the results they worked for the day before. But will that really be the case? Of course, it depends what you mean by train. Are you doing more than 12 sets per muscle group at once? Is the load heavy or light? Despite these important questions, what ends up happening is that people view these recovery videos and start completely fearing the idea of even using a fatigued or sore muscle. Regardless of recovery, our bodies are made to survive, and if using a sore or fatigued muscle group means that we injure ourselves instantaneously, then the human species will have never survived. When you see athletes, many of them train every day or as frequently as possible, often defying this sort of recovery perspective. For example, a boxer wouldn't stop boxing just because of sore muscles. Of course, boxing is not the same as resistance exercises like weightlifting or calisthenics, but boxers still do these sort of exercises every day. When I used to have a sore chest, for example, I will never do anything related to it with the thought that I was going to lose everything I worked for the day before or injure myself. It wasn't even about training the muscle group, but even using it. For example, I will not do even one set of push-ups if I had a sore chest. It's not that you should train the same muscle group 2 days in a row. It is more like you shouldn't be that scared about even using a sore or fatigue muscle. And nuance matters a lot. Hitting the same muscle group 2 days in a row makes sense if you only do 4 sets per day. It makes sense because realistically 4 sets wouldn't cause that much soreness or fatigue. But if you were to do 16 sets the day before and the day after you decide to hit another 8 sets, the risk of injury will obviously be higher the more you train this way. And load also matters. Training really heavy is not the same as not as heavy or even light training, and training intensity also matters. However, even if you were to do 16 sets of chest and the day after you do 4 sets of push-ups, just for the pump's sake, it wouldn't be a big deal. In fact, it could actually help you recover by simply bringing more blood to the muscle, since blood carries nutrients and takes out byproducts. Whether or not you have a reason to actually train a muscle 2 days in a row, the point is that using a muscle group the day after you train it won't be the end of the world. And I partially think the reason why I had this fearsome view of recovery is in part caused by push-pull legs. As you know, in push-pull legs, the point of it is to really focus on a specific muscle group per day, which means that you're going to do a good amount of volume at once, which means that each body part will need a good amount of time to recover. That is why each body part has 48 hours of rest at minimum. When you're always destroying each body part per session, it kinda makes sense to fear training the same muscle group 2 days in a row. And you know, I think the biggest issue when having this fear-based perspective on recovery is the lack of flexibility that it causes, because you are always scared about losing your progress or injuring yourself or trying to align yourself with this idea of what is optimal. You never try to experiment beyond that or try to see for yourself what fits you. And actually, if it happens that you're working for other goals that are not hypertrophy, you will find that having this sort of sacred perspective about recovery will highly affect your frequency, which, as you know, boxers don't stop boxing because of muscle soreness. Currently, the new thing to worry about is fatigue over stimulus ratio, or worrying too much about your central nervous system or fatigue. What I like about full body is that when you divide volume throughout the week instead of doing it all at once, sometimes you get to experience training the same body part 2 days in a row. It is also incredibly flexible. If you are busy or something has made you skip a workout, it is not that of a big deal because you are probably also going to hit it the day after. Whereas in push-pull legs, if you skip one day, then it will be like 4 or 5 days that you haven't used that particular muscle group. The point of this video is not that you should train 2 days in a row, or do a super high frequency training program, or that you shouldn't rest the amount of time your body demands. It is more like you shouldn't be scared of using a sore or fatigue muscle.